a Persian poet from back in the ancient times in the 13th century. His name was Jalaluddin Rumi. And Rumi has this observation that's been very important and very powerful to me. He said, "The morning breeze has secrets to tell you. Do not go back to sleep." Let me say it again. The morning breeze has secrets to tell you. Do not go back to sleep. I'd like to take a poll. Just by a show of hands, I'd like to ask how many people in this room, and there's about 3,000 of us here tonight, I'd like to ask you, how many of you awaken at one time or another between the hours of 3 and 4 a.m.? Let me just see by a show of hands. And if you look around, you see that this is a universal experience. Now, what do you think that is? If everybody, almost everybody, awakens at some time between 3 and 4. Now, for some of us, we just interpret that as, all right, this is my age. I'll just run into the bathroom and I'll be right back. And you may make that visit several times a night. I don't know. But there's more to that. And I'd like you to now, of all of those people who raised their hand at this idea that you awaken sometime between 3 and 4 a.m., how many of you awaken at exactly the same time? Exactly the same time, with a little digital clock next to you. What is your time? 3:18. What is your time? 2:20. What is yours? 4:50. So like there's a, and this happens repeatedly over and over again. My time is 3:13. I awaken at 3:13 night after night after night. I look over, I've got this little clock. It's not an alarm clock, it's just a little digital clock. I just look over and it's 3:13 again and again and again. So what I had trained myself to do in the writing of this book, in the inspiration book, is to put my feet on the floor and say to myself, all right, you are going to awaken because here's what Rumi said, the morning breeze has secrets to tell you. Do not go back to sleep. You realize that between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the night, this is the time when you're closest to your source. This is the time when it's the quietest. It is the time when it's the most peaceful, when there are the least distractions. And of course, in Miracles, it says the memory of God comes to the quiet mind. It cannot come where there is conflict. A mind at war with itself remembers not eternal gentleness. Eternal gentleness. That's what you came from. It beckons you back to be awake. It's the most creative time in your life. Try it. Take that moment that you are being called by your source and awaken, and force yourself to shake the cobwebs out. And if you can't, then put your feet on the floor and say, look, if I have to go back to sleep, I'm going to sleep with my feet on the floor. And after a while, that gets very uncomfortable, and you'll get yourself up. Now, when I do that and I get up, and I live on Maui, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank all of you for my beautiful home that I have on Maui. And when I get up at that is the most glorious time to be out there. And I go out onto the lanai, and I get this sense of this powerful feeling of inspiration. It's overwhelming to me. And I walk by my writing table, and it pulls me. It's pulling me towards it. It's almost beckoning me and saying, please, please come to me. I want you to, and I sit there sometimes, and I literally wonder, where is this coming from? The words, they just flow, and I sit there, and I write by hand. And as I'm writing and allowing this to flow through my heart and onto the pages, I just think to myself, I wonder what's going to come next. I wonder when it's going to come next. It's almost as if God is saying, this is why you're here. And I can't get you any other time because it's just so busy, and there's horns bonked, and there's so many distractions. But here's a time when you can just be with me. Just be in spirit. Just be inspired. Inspirado. Be in this space with me. And I will then allow what creative juices that you have forgotten about because you edged me out for so much a part of your life. And here it is. And you'll find yourself getting the right ideas, examining things that you never thought of before. Writing, some of you, I know you do it in your sleep many times, you'll write a poem and it'll be so phenomenal, and then you'll say, well, I'll remember that tomorrow. And then you get up and you can't get any of it. The morning breeze has secrets to tell you. Do not go back to sleep. Use those hours. And forget about the idea that, let's see now, I went to bed at 11, and if I get up at 3, that means 4 hours, so I'm going to be 4 hours deficient all day long. I'm not going to be... Forget that. You've got an eternity to sleep. An eternity to sleep. And when you learn to meditate and get quiet and get peaceful, you can always, in 20 minutes time of meditation, any time during the day, get the equivalent of a full night's sleep. Don't go back to sleep. I'd like to speak in this program about what I call the rewards for inspiration. Things that will be your payoffs, your prizes, if you decide to move into spirit, into this world of spirit that I'm speaking about here on PBS. Back in the 2,300 or so years ago, we're not quite sure exactly when, there was a great teacher in India. His name was Patanjali. And in all the research that I've done on Patanjali, there's not sure if it was one person or a series of people or whatever it is, but it's great teachings, and I've immersed myself in the discourses of Patanjali, in the sutras, and practiced it. And one of the things that Patanjali, who was teaching people about being miracle workers at that time, teaching them about things that no one had ever heard about before, about the power of the repetition of the sound of the name of God as a way of manifesting something into your life, teaching people about being invisible, stuff that's a little bit strange, but that's, you know, it's like being 65 has its advantages, you know, because I can talk about things that are weird. And I usually point it out so you don't think I don't know that this might sound a little strange. But I would like to suggest to you that he offered something about inspiration that I want to offer to you. And there are 6 of these things, and I want to cover each one of them in this program. He said, when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all of your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. 3, your consciousness expands in every direction. And 4, you find yourself in a new and a great and a wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents come alive. And 6, you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. Those are the rewards. It's not like you're going to win the lottery. It's not, and you may. It's not that somebody's going to come riding into your life on a white horse or whatever. These are the rewards. These are the things that are going to be so powerful for you. The first of these is what? When you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, 1, all of your thoughts break their bonds. All of your thoughts break their bonds. What do we mean by your bonds? Your bonds are the thoughts that you have that keep you disconnected from your source. They are thoughts that are out of harmony with spirit, with God consciousness, with God realization. Because this is basically about being like God, being like source, being like spirit, being like divine mind, in everything, in every thought, in every action, more and more, connecting yourself back, catching yourself. So, the bonds are the ways that we think. I'd like you to imagine a ladder. And this ladder has 10 rungs on it, from the floor all the way up to the top of the ladder. And at the top of the ladder is the highest rung. And at the top of the ladder are the words, "This is my desire," and it's aligned with spirit. Again, this is my desire, and it's aligned with spirit. So what is your desire? My desire is to align with spirit. So what is your desire? My desire is to manifest abundance into my life. Perfectly aligned. We came from an abundant source. My desire is to feel a sense of well-being in my body at all times. Perfectly aligned. My desire is to have divine spiritual relationships in my life. My desire is to get the job that I am working towards getting. My desire is to live in a place where I feel most peaceful and most loving. My desire is, and these, whatever it is, it doesn't make any difference. It's the 10th rung. It's the highest rung. It is your spirit aligned with your desire. All right? So here it is. It's right up here. Now you have to ask yourself the question, what is it that I offer up to this 10th rung desire? All right? A 10th rung has to have, in order for it to manifest and show up in your life, it has to have thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that match up to that. And if they don't match up, you get out of harmony. See, thoughts are energy. Like everything in the universe, it's energy. Einstein said that nothing happens until something moves. What we have has an energy component to it. We can measure our thoughts and how they impact us, whether they strengthen us or weaken us at any time in our lives. All right, so there's a wonderful book written about this, and it's called Ask and It Is Given. I read frequently, and great teachings, I think among the greater teachings on the planet today. In fact, I wrote the foreword to it. It's something that I very strongly embrace. And they talk in there about how to manifest your desires. And the mistake that most of us make is that we attract what we don't want because our thoughts are on what we don't want. Or we continue to attract what's missing in our life. We're not at number 10, we're at about number 3. And what are some of these on these lower rungs? It probably won't happen. It's very difficult. These kinds of things have never happened for me before. I don't have this kind of luck. We've got the wrong people in the White House. The economy is bad. I don't have the ability to make it happen. I don't really believe it's possible. She said, well, of course. Who wouldn't want to be rich? We all want to have abundance in our life. Of course that. I said, so let me see if I understand this. You want to attract being rich into your life, and your thought about it is that it'll never happen. So what do you think you're going to attract? You're going to attract, it'll never happen. And that very simple little example, it's an innocuous example. She was a very bright and intelligent lady. It wasn't about that. It's about what kind of energies we have within ourselves that we offer to what our desires that are aligned with spirit in order for them to manifest. And every thought, if you have a second wrong thought that it probably won't happen, it's not likely, it's never happened before, it's just not the way it works for me, it's always been missing. As long as you think like that, and you're in a universe that operates on this law of attraction, you will continue to attract it.